Was Vlad the Impaler based? He fiercely resisted the Ottoman Empire, defending Wallachia independence at a time when most neighboring rulers submitted. He enforced strict laws against corruption, theft, and disloyalty. Chroniclers say crime dropped dramatically because punishments were extremely severe. He used psychological warfare effectively, including the infamous Forest of the Impaled, to terrify invading armies. He's celebrated as a national hero in Romania, where he is seen as a symbol of resilience and resistance. His cruelty was extreme, even by 15th century standards. Impalement was a slow, agonizing death. Unfortunately, he sometimes also let his rage get the best of him, and would slaughter and burn down whole villages if he felt the tribesmen were disloyal. He also unleashed his wrath on his fellow countrymen if the Ottoman army was going to be walking through that village. He wanted to send a message to the Ottomans that he will do whatever it takes to free Wallachia from them. It was also psychological, as was the Forest of the Impaled. The Ottoman forces have never encountered a ruler who took out his own villages before. The shock was a lot for many of the soldiers. Unfortunately, they still haven't experienced the worst of it. The Forest of the Impaled, or Forest of Corpses, was still waiting for them on the Romanian countryside. Ottoman scouts approaching the site reportedly froze in shock as the stench of decay hit them before the full scene came into view. When they realized the forest was thousands of bodies on stakes stretching across the horizon, many were overcome with nausea and fear. Soldiers described an unnatural silence broken only by carrion birds, making the place feel otherworldly. The scale and cruelty of the display convinced some that Vlad was willing to go to terrifying extremes to resist them. Even veteran warriors felt their morale collapse at the sight, seeing it as both a warning and a psychological weapon. Going to extreme lengths to defend his homeland and his faith, with the Ottomans on the doorstep of Western Europe, was Vlad the Impaler the crazier, more bloodthirsty version of King Baldwin IV? Defender of Christendom. Both waged crusades against Islamic powers, although their strategies varied greatly. Although Vlad's primary motive was political survival and maintaining Wallachian independence, he explicitly used Christian identity as justification for resisting Ottoman expansion. Vlad was a member of the Order of the Dragon, a chivalric society founded to defend Christendom from the Ottomans. In medieval Europe, rulers often invoked religion for legitimacy, but Vlad did so aggressively and repeatedly. He enforced strict religious uniformity and punished those he saw as disloyal enemies of the faith. Vlad associated internal enemies with betrayal of Christian order. While the brutality of his punishments was extreme, his rhetoric tied loyalty to the principality with loyalty to Christian norms. He cracked down on Saxon merchants and local boyars who opposed him, accusing some of treason and failure to honor Christian obligations. Chronicles record that he punished those who didn't observe Christian moral laws, especially thieves, traitors, and people he saw as corrupting society. He depicted internal disorder as sinful and framed his harsh rule as cleansing Wallachia of moral rot. Again, this wasn't nationalism in the modern ethnic sense, but religion was a central pillar of his political identity and propaganda. Vlad's public actions, architecture, and legal reforms emphasized Christian authority as the foundation of his rule. He restored and funded monasteries, especially in Wallachia and Transylvania, which recorded his gifts in chronicles. He issued documents that invoked God and Christian law as the basis for obedience to the prince, a common medieval practice, but unusually emphasized in his decrees. He used religious feast days and ceremonies as political theater to reinforce his image as a pious Christian ruler, despite his cruelty. In the medieval Balkans, religion was the closest analog to a national identity, and Vlad used it heavily. So, in conclusion, was Vlad the Impaler a Christian nationalist? Not in the modern ideological sense, but in a medieval context. He saw himself as a guardian of a Christian people. he justified war through religious identity and promoted Christian institutions.